Hi, my name is Taylor Thomas Smythe, and I am the author of the Kingdom of Florida book series and a graphic designer. I work in marketing, and today I'm going to be talking about Google Ads. Now, Google Ads has been around for a little while, but it is so user-friendly, and I just recently kind of started to dabble in learning how to use it. And I wanted to share all the things that I've learned with you so you can make your own ads to promote your book or product or whatever you're working on. So today I'm going to be talking about Google Video Ads, which are a lot like the Google Display Ads, which you can learn about in my previous video. But Google Video Ads are the kind of ads you will see as the bumper for a YouTube video you're watching, and you see that little skip sign and you're kind of waiting to skip until 5 seconds have gone by. But every once in a while, one of those catches your eye and you want to watch a little more. So that's the kind of ads we're talking about, and it's actually pretty easy to set one up. So I'm going to walk you through that. I'll share my screen with you so you can see kind of just every step of the way to get to that point. These ads can be really effective because they kind of capture your attention in a different way than a simple image ad, display ad that you might see on the side of a web page as you're kind of scrolling through something. The video ads tend to kind of smack you in the face a little more. They're a little more obvious. So I think they can be very effective when done right. Of course, there's some best practices for that, which I'll touch on a little bit. But this video is going to primarily focus on how to upload your own ads and just kind of get them started. So Google Ads is really great. I talked about this a little bit in the other video I did about display ads, so go check that out if you haven't. That's going to go over a lot of this kind of similar stuff as this video. But it's really easy. You create an account with an existing Google account or a new one, and you'll set up all kind of your financial information so that you can pay for the ads and get paid if you get paid. I don't know if that's how this works, but mostly you're going to be paying for ads and budget and stuff. So once you sign in, you will be taken to your kind of main page and click on new campaign. Make sure you're under video campaigns, but you'll be able to have an option to double check that here. I'm just going to click website traffic because it's kind of just a basic, I'm going to get clicks to my page. Click video ad here and drive conversions. It'll just, its goal is to get conversions on your page. When we get here, we'll be setting up the actual ad. You can change the campaign name. This is for my card game, which is called Triumvirate, so I'm going to name it that and make sure it says video, so when I'm navigating throughout different ads, I can make sure I'm looking at the right one. Max size conversions is just kind of a default setting, so I'll leave that. Your budget, you can customize to whatever you want, as low as like $2 up to hundreds or thousands of dollars if you wanted, if you have the budget for that. This is the daily budget, so Google will automatically spread kind of that budget out over and use that kind of as an average that they aim for. It's not precise just because it's based on clicks and views and things like that. But if you set a start and end date, it will make sure that you don't spend more than your allotted budget for that time period, based on the daily rate that you've set. So I'm just going to, my launch was on September 1st, so I'm just going to kind of do the first few days of that, have this running on the first few days that the game is out. And I'll click an end date just a few days in. Here's some other options. The networks, you can show kind of where it shows up, where people will see this ad. I'm just kind of keeping it default here. Languages, locations, you can get more specific. Inventory type, this is kind of a recommended option I would choose, but you can also refine that a little bit. Again, what kind of websites it shows up and exclude certain ones if something doesn't gel with your brand. These are just some additional settings that you can specify. Ad group name, you don't really have to give this name if you don't want to. Like I'm only using one video, which is one ad group. You can uncheck or check certain demographic groups if you don't want to waste your money on someone who's not a target, reader for your book. Books are tricky because I'm writing a kids book series, so I want young people to read it, but probably their parents or grandparents are buying it for them. So you kind of want to advertise to all those different groups. This is just some recent kind of affinity groups and audiences that I had used on a previous campaign. So I'm just going to pick some of the ones that I think will work best for this campaign. I would not advise that you just copy what I'm doing here. This is not necessarily applicable to what you're doing, so make sure you kind of do some research on your own for keywords and topics that you want to do. So there's audience, kind of affinity groups, and there's also topics. And so these are kind of related to what sort of things people are watching on YouTube, what sort of topics those things fall into, might, be connected to what sort of thing you want your ad to display in or alongside. So I'll just pick a few more here for this ad. And again, a lot of these are ones that I've used before, which is why it's kind of coming up so quickly for me. And once you have that done, you can kind of just move along to placements. Again, this, you can kind of be more specific where you want these to show up. I kind of want it to be general. Here's where you're going to actually pick what the video is. You can search for it here, or you can just copy and paste the URL, which is probably the easiest and maybe it's harder to find your video. It has to be a public video, so I actually had to make this public before I actually really wanted it to be able to use it here, but I did it anyway. So this is kind of the default settings here. Final URL is where someone's going to be taken when they click on your ad or click on the call to action button. So I'm going to take them to my games page within my website. Call to action is what's going to appear on that blue button. It may not always be blue depending on where it's showing, but you have a limited character count there, so just something quick and short. Headline is what's going to show next to your channel icon above the URL. So use these things in conjunction with your video to make sure it's complementing that. Again, these are not necessarily like the best headlines or calls to action, just what I'm kind of doing for this example. Just some other options with URLs and kind of code and stuff like that. Uploading an image is great. This is an image that's going to show up on kind of the side of your YouTube, video watching page. Is that the right word for it? Up in the kind of the right-hand corner. Usually there's like an ad. If there was an ad that played before this video, like you probably see an ad for it right there. So I created an image that I can give you the specs for that down here, or they're, in here. But if you want to set it up ahead of time, I'll include that in my description of this video. You can preview it to show what it's going to look like. This is really helpful in case none of that made sense that I just talked about. So it will show you the video just like it'll show, where you can skip it in a few seconds, and then show all those things you just entered there, the call to action, the headline, and that image, and just shows you where those things show up. So really great, really helpful to see that preview. Highly recommend looking at that. You can preview desktop and mobile. And once everything's good, you can also show how it shows in other Google Video Partners pages on mobile and desktop. YouTube's going to probably be the most common one though. When it's ready, just click Create Campaign, and you're good to go. It will now have to review it. It might bump back, and say that you're violating something. So just make sure you're paying attention to the things, but it'll tell you details if it bumped back. Great example. I'm glad it showed an error because that just shows the things like that can happen. Google has a very robust help and FAQ thing, so just kind of search through there if you're not sure what to do. Or you can drop a comment in the comments here and I'll see if I can help you answer it. Once it's done, it'll show not eligible, but that's just because it's still pending. And later it will hopefully show up and start to run. This will show you some stats. You can change these to customize what you see here on your overview screen. I really love seeing clicks and impressions and views and cost because I want to keep an eye on how much I've spent on this. These will fill in once your campaign starts running, but right now they're blank. But that's kind of a quick overview of how to upload a video ad. And now I'm going to show you just an example from an existing video campaign, so you can see kind of what these analytics look like when they're kind of filled in and not blank. So you can turn these off, you can make different ones visible, you can change what you're seeing here. If you hover over it, it shows you the specifics for that date or time frame, which is really helpful. You can also export these or download these as images or spreadsheets, which I find also very helpful to have access to. And again, you can kind of compare these things alongside each other, and Google knows kind of how they correlate, so it'll adjust accordingly. But great data. Very helpful to kind of follow along as your campaign's going. I try to check in on it regularly. You can see more about the video and how much people watched of it. You can see which audiences clicked the most from those topics we selected back, on the previous page when we were setting up the ad. You can find out more about these audiences under the audiences page, and you can actually see, if certain ones weren't really performing well, you can pause those. You can take them so the ads aren't being delivered to those groups anymore. Just click enable or paused, depending on what it's set up. But kind of compare to the data over on the right on these columns. Like if it's not getting any views or clicks, or it's getting a lot of views but no clicks, maybe you chose an audience that isn't really interested in what you're promoting. So you might want to pause that so you're not wasting money, wasting views on people that don't care about it. So lots of great customization here. You can do this while your campaign's running, which is really helpful too. You can set up rules even for like if a certain thing doesn't get clicks for this certain amount of time, like pause it, that sort of thing. But there's a lot more to that I don't really know about. Audience retention is really helpful too. You can see how much of your video somebody watched. You can mark a moment, which are kind of these little key moments that you can make sure, like see how many people made it to that moment in the video, if there's like a certain logo you wanted them to see or a certain brand. So this actually did pretty well. Sometimes you would expect it's like a sharp drop at the 5-second mark because that's where people skip the video. So when you're planning your video, make sure that you engage them in those 5 seconds so they don't want to click skip. That's a great practice to get into. So that's a quick overview, and I hope this was helpful. I hope this has been helpful for you. This has been a walkthrough of Google Video Ads. I also have another video about Google Display Ads, which are more the image-based ones. Those actually can tend to be a lot cheaper to run and sometimes more effective, but it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. But I'll post the link to that in the cards and in the description in case you want to view that. It has a few other tips that are related to Google Ads that might be helpful if you found this one helpful. Again, I'm Taylor Thomas Smythe. I'm doing a lot of videos like this because I find tutorials like this helpful, so I hope you do as well. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can sign up for my email list. I talk about my books and about writing and marketing those things. In the description below, there will be a link to sign up for that email list. You can also follow along on my website, ttsmythe.com or kingdomofflorida.com for my specific fantasy book series, which is what I'm working on right now. All right. See you later, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.